That's the truth I always start with. Even now, years later, when historians, diplomats, and curious cadets ask me what it was like to stand before the first alien queen humanity ever met and accidentally confess love to her, I was exhausted, half-starved, running on recycled oxygen and adrenaline after 72 hours without proper sleep. And I was speaking a language that had been translated, reverse-engineered, and patched together by machines that still struggled with metaphor, emotional context, and idioms. In short, it was the worst possible moment for my mouth to outrun my brain. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how I ended up kneeling before an alien monarch whose empire spanned 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, with my heart pounding so loudly, I thought the translators might pick that up too. The beginning. First contact wasn't glorious. When humanity first detected the Lyrathi ascendancy, there were no trumpet blasts, no heroic speeches, no cinematic fleets lining up for war or peace. There was just a distorted signal drifting through deep space, too structured to be natural, too vast to be accidental. It took Earth 6 years to decode the basics. Another 4 to realize the message wasn't a greeting. It was a census. The Lyrathi had been cataloging inhabited systems for centuries. They weren't conquerors in the traditional sense. They didn't invade, didn't enslave, didn't glass planets from orbit. They absorbed. Civilizations were evaluated, contacted, and if deemed compatible, integrated into the ascendancy. Local governance remained. Culture was preserved. Technology was shared. Refusal, however, wasn't an option. Earth panicked. Some governments wanted to fight. Others wanted to surrender immediately. Most argued endlessly while the signal grew stronger, closer. Eventually, a decision was made. Send a delegation. And for reasons I still don't fully understand, I was chosen as the primary linguistic liaison. My name is Elias Rourke. I was a xenolinguist, a nobody outside academic circles, better with dead languages and alien syntax trees than with people. I wasn't a soldier. I wasn't a politician. Which, in hindsight, might have been exactly why I survived. The Queen of Stillness. The Lyrathi capital world was unlike anything I'd imagined. No towering skyscrapers. No glowing megacities. Instead, the planet Aurelian was alive in a way Earth never had been. Massive bioluminescent structures grew like coral across continents. The air shimmered with floating spores that adjusted light, temperature, and sound. Every step felt considered, as if the world itself was listening. The Queen awaited us at the center of a living palace grown from crystallized organic matter. The walls pulsed faintly, responding to her presence. She was not monstrous. That surprised everyone. Queen Seralith of the Lyrathi stood taller than any human, her form elegant rather than imposing. Her eyes arranged in a gentle arc, skin like polished obsidian threaded with soft, glowing veins. A crown-like structure rose naturally from her skull, not jewelry, but biology. She radiated calm. Not warmth, not cold, stillness. When she spoke, the translators struggled. Her language wasn't just sound, it was harmonic, layered with subtle emotional frequencies. The machines flattened it into words, but something essential was always lost. I felt it anyway. She wasn't hostile. She was curious. The middle. Words are dangerous things. Negotiations lasted days. The Queen asked questions no one expected. Not about weapons. Not about resources. She asked about art. About storytelling. About why humans cried when they were happy and laughed when they were afraid. She asked me directly why humans formed bonds so quickly and broke them just as fast. I answered honestly. Because lies don't survive long under 4 unblinking alien eyes. Over time, I noticed something unsettling. She spoke to me more than anyone else. When debates grew heated, her gaze drifted back to where I stood. When silence fell, she addressed me by name, Elias Rauerko, each syllable pronounced with unnerving precision. The others noticed too. "Careful," Ambassador Chen whispered one night. "You're becoming significant." I laughed it off. That was my second mistake. The accident. The moment itself was painfully unremarkable. We were discussing integration protocols, how humanity would retain autonomy, what technologies would be shared, how cultural contamination would be minimized. Saralith asked a question directed solely at me. "In your species," the translator rendered, "what phrase is used to signify irreversible emotional commitment?" My brain, exhausted and fried, reached for the first relevant concept. I answered in English. "It's, I love you." The translator processed, adapted, broadcast. Then Saralith tilted her head, a lyrified gesture indicating deep attention. "And," she asked, "when is this phrase spoken?" I meant to explain context. I meant to say it depends. Instead, my mouth betrayed me. "When you're willing to place someone above yourself," I said softly. "When their existence matters more than your own comfort. When you accept the risk of pain because life without them would be lesser." The chamber was silent. Saralith stepped closer. Very close. "And you," she said, her voice resonating through bone and air alike, "have spoken this phrase to me." I felt my blood drain from my face. "Oh, no." That was an example. I didn't mean. But the translator didn't care about panic. It cared about meaning. And meaning, once delivered, cannot be taken back. I'm sorry," I blurted. "I did not perceive anger," Saralith replied. That's when I realized something was very, very wrong. She didn't get angry. The queen raised one long, graceful hand. The guards tensed. The ambassadors froze. I prepared myself for exile, imprisonment, or execution. Instead, she touched my forehead. Just briefly. The room seemed to hold its breath. "In Lyrathai cognition," she said, "the declaration you have made is not casual. It is reserved for bonded pairs whose neural patterns have synchronized through prolonged resonance." My knees nearly gave out. "I swear," I said hoarsely, "I didn't intend any disrespect." "There is none," she replied. Her eyes glowed brighter. "On the contrary, you have performed an act of extraordinary vulnerability." She turned to the assembly. "Proceed." Negotiations resumed. As if nothing monumental had just happened. As if I hadn't just confessed love to an alien queen and lived. The consequences. After that day, everything changed. I was assigned personal quarters within the palace. Not a prison. Not a luxury suite. A resonance chamber. I learned that Lyrathai rulers did not govern alone. They bonded with advisors, consorts, or anchors, individuals whose emotional frameworks complemented their own. These bonds weren't romantic in the human sense. They were stabilizing. And Saralith, for reasons she didn't yet fully understand, found my presence grounding. "You experience fear," she observed during one of our many conversations, "yet you continue." "Yeah," I said. "That's kind of our thing." She considered that. "Your species is inefficient," she said neutrally. "Emotionally volatile. Chronically self-destructive." I smiled weakly. And yet, she continued, "you persist. You adapt. You form attachments even when logic advises withdrawal." She looked at me then, not as a monarch, but as something closer to a person. "You love recklessly." It wasn't an accusation. It was wonder. The choice. The ascendancy offered Earth integration. The terms were generous. Too generous. Humanity hesitated. And Saralith did something unprecedented. She delayed. For how long? Her counsel asked. As long as required, she answered. Behind closed doors, she spoke to me. Your species fears loss of self, she said. If integration proceeds now, resistance will fester. You're risking internal dissent, I said. Yes. Why? She was silent for a long time. Then she said, because your voice altered my equilibrium. My heart sank. I didn't mean to manipulate you. You did not, she said. You revealed a variable we had never encountered. She stepped closer. You named devotion without obligation. I swallowed. And what does that mean for us? For you, she said gently, it means a decision. The ending, love, translated. Earth eventually agreed to integration, on its own terms, not because of fear, but because, for the first time, an alien empire had waited. History recorded it as a diplomatic miracle. They never recorded what happened after. I chose to stay, not as a ruler, not as a consort, but as a bonded anchor, a human presence beside the Lyrathai queen, offering perspective no algorithm or council ever could. I never said, I love you again. Not out loud. I didn't need to. Saralith learned the human concept over time, learned its messiness, its contradictions, its power. One day, as we stood overlooking a living sea of light, she spoke softly. In your language, she said, is there a phrase for enduring connection without possession? I smiled. Yeah, I said. It's still I love you. We just spend a lifetime figuring out what it really means. She placed her hand over mine. The translator stayed silent. Some things, I suppose, don't need translating at all. And that's how I accidentally told an alien queen I loved her, and changed the fate of 2 civilizations.